start? We have to read, if we undertake this self-discovery.
Yes.
Have we read it?
No.
So we have to read.
No, Rangada, we have to read it.
So, Archana Di, do you have the text? Will you be able to read?
Yes, Rangada. If we undertake this self-discovery and enlarge our knowledge of the subliminal self, so conceiving it as to include in it our lower subconscious and upper superconscious ends, we shall discover that it is really this which provides the whole material of our apparent being, and that our perceptions, our memories, our effectuations of will and intelligence are only a selection from its perceptions, memories, activities, and relations of will and intelligence. Our very ego is only a minor and superficial formulation of its self consciousness and self experience. It is, as it were, the urgent sea out of which the waves of our conscious becoming arise. But what are its limits? How far does it extend? What is its fundamental? Ordinarily, we speak of a subconscious existence and include in this term all that is not on the waking surface. But the whole or the greater part of the inner or subliminal self can hardly be characterized by that epithet. For when we say subconscious, we think readily of an obscure unconsciousness or half consciousness, or else a submerged consciousness below, and in a way inferior to and less than our organized waking awareness, or at least less in possession of itself. But we find, when we go within, that somewhere in a subliminal part, though not coextensive with it, since it has also obscure and ignorant reasons, there is a consciousness much wider, more luminous, more in possession of itself, and things than that which feeds upon our surface, and is the percipient of our daily hours. That is That is our inner being, and it is this which we must regard as a subliminal self, and set apart the subconscious as an inferior, a lowest occult province of our nature. The same way, there is a superconscious part of our total existence, in which there is what we discover to be our highest self, and this too we can set apart as a higher occult province of our nature.
So,
In this paragraph,
pardon?
In this paragraph, so clearly he has distinguished the subconscious, subliminal, and the supraconscious.
Exactly. That's exactly what I was going to say. Okay. He has told you very clearly, because those who are not knowledgeable about all these things, okay, they speak about the unconscious and the subconscious. And they mean everything which is not in the body mind life, okay, in the waking consciousness. So he has made it very clear that subconscious is not a term to be applied to everything inside and above. It should not be applied. It is only the lower, that which is lower than us. And even the lower, he is making a very interesting distinction. We'll have a look at that. We feel that the lower, the subconscious, is inferior. Actually, it is not inferior in a certain way, because it has got 10 times more content than the waking consciousness. Remember, the subconscious is a vast infinite. Your body mind life consciousness is not at all an infinite. It's very, very finite. Okay. So that's exactly what he said. We'll have a look at what he's saying in the paragraph. If we undertake this self-discovery and enlarge our knowledge of the subliminal self, so conceiving it as to include in it our lower subconscious and upper superconscious ends, we shall discover that it is really this which provides the whole material of our apparent being, and that our perceptions, memories, our effectuations of will and intelligence are only a selection from its perceptions, memories, activities, and relations of will and intelligence. We'll have to stop here, although the sentence continues, because we have to see what he's saying. So, he is talking now of the subliminal, but giving it a slightly different meaning. Okay, subliminal normally means in English, it means below the surface. Okay, but here he is saying we are using the term subliminal, but we will, at present, we will use it to mean the, so conceiving it, so we'll think of it in this way, including it our lower subconscious, okay, and upper superconscious ends. What is it below you and what is above you? We shall discover that it is really this which provides the whole material of our apparent being. Okay, now I'll stop here. Apparent being, your body, mind, life, the outer nature. So what he's saying is that it is really the sea that is making the wave. Everything in the wave is really part of the sea. So everything that you are thinking with your mind, with your vital, your emoting, and with your action in the body, everything is really part of the universal. That's what he's saying. Okay? And it is that which determines our thinking, our willing, our emoting, and our actions. It is that which determines. We feel that we have our own will and we are doing, but that's absolutely a wrong conception. It's not like that at all. Okay, so it is the sea that determines the wave. That's what he said. It's the superconscious and even the subconscious, which determines, and the subliminal, intraconscious, which actually determines what you are. It fixes your character, it fixes your actions, your emotions, and your thoughts. Everything is fixed by the universe, the sea. Okay. Now, we came up to that portion where it says, all, even our perceptions, memories, activities, relations of will and will, everything is determined by that which is not the outer nature. The outer nature is only very small part of what we are. I read the next phrase. Our very ego is only a minor and superficial formulation of its self-consciousness and self-experience. So your ego is a formulation only. Okay, it's a representative of your consciousness and experience. Okay. What you are really, the ego is only a very faint image of that. That's what he said. And that's why when you go to the real thing, the image is not necessarily, it disappears. Okay. It is, as it were, the urgent sea out of which the waves of our conscious being arise. Now, the word urgent here is very interesting because normally, how can the sea be urgent? I have an urgent matter, okay? That is what you feel, that the word urgent. But actually, here it means that which will not brook any delay. Immediate, okay? That's what it means. The urgent here means immediate. The immediate sea out of which the waves of our conscious being arise. Very clear? It's a sea that determines the way. But what are its limits? Now he's asking you the universe, okay? It's true that it is supplying all your characters. But where does it begin and where does it end? Is there a limit to that? Or is it absolutely, you can go to the highest levels? Everything is part of man, of which he is not conscious. So he's asking now, what are its limits? How far does it extend? What is its fundamental character, nature? Okay? So these are the questions. Ordinarily, we speak of a subconscious existence and include in this term all that is not on the waking surface. So everything that is not on the waking surface is subconscious to us. But he's saying, but the whole or the greater part of the inner, our subliminal self, can hardly be characterized by that epithet. Because it is, when you go there into your intraconscious, the inner and subliminal being, you see that it knows 10 times more, 10 times only a way of speaking, maybe 1,000 times more than what you know on the surface. It's much, much, much more knowledgeable. So you can't see subconscious. That's what he explained. But the whole or the greater part of the inner subliminal being can hardly be characterized by the epithet. For when we say subconscious, we think readily, normally, of an obscure unconsciousness or half consciousness, or else a submerged consciousness below, and in a way inferior to and less than our organized waking awareness. The organized waking awareness is our mental and vital consciousness, including even the body consciousness. So he's saying, but Srimba is saying in a way inferior. Why in a way? Because although it is lower and it is subconscious, yet it is far, far, far greater and bigger than our waking consciousness. That's why he's characterizing it with in a way inferior. Okay? Actually, it's very, very powerful. The body-mind life in the outer nature is not powerful at all. It's very weak. But the subconscious has got the what is below you. It has stored everything, and it's everything right from the highest level. Everything is involved in the subconscious. Huh? So naturally, it is far greater in a sense, potentially greater. So, but we find when we go within he is keeping it vague. It can be up, it can be inside, it can even be below, like Mother had experienced once. One of her New Year messages was exactly that. She went into her subconscious. In fact, Srimba was doing that all the time. God's labor is that, okay? Digging deep and long with mire and filth. Okay? So going into subconscious, and then she found that at the rock bottom, there is a mighty spring that threw her up into the superconscious. They are connected like a circuit. When you go down, you can also go up from there. Okay? And when you go up, you can understand the subconscious and inconscious much better. They are connected in a way. So that's what he's saying. They're in a way, okay, organized being one, or at least less in possession of itself. Because it doesn't have the power. It has got potential, but doesn't have the power. Like we know our mind and we know our vital, though very imperfectly, but the subconscious, no. When you are sleeping, you are in the subconscious. Okay? But we find when we go within that somewhere in our subliminal part, though not coexistent, coextensive with it, since it has also obscure and ignorant regions, there is a consciousness much wider, more luminous, more in possession of itself and things than that which wakes upon our surface and is the percipient of our daily hours. So we have to, what do we mean by daily hours? Only that thing, those things which are happening in the physical world. But remember that everything is happening in the subtle world also. So our waking consciousness will not be aware of the things that are happening in the subtle worlds. But our subliminal, the intraconscious, will be knowledgeable about subtle worlds as well as the physical world. That's exactly what it is. Therefore, it is much wider, more luminous, more in possession of itself. We are not in possession of our mind and our vital at all in the outer nature. But there, when you are in the subliminal, you have a control. Okay? You can know much more and you can use also mental powers and vital powers. More in possession of itself and things than that which wakes upon our surface and is the percipient of our daily hours. Percipient. I may have read it wrong the first time. That is our inner being. So the inner being, he is now very specifying, he says we'll use that as the inner being. If he uses the word subliminal, it could mean everything that is not on the surface. So he is a little flexible with his terminology about subliminal. So if you want to speak of the interconscious, it's better to use the words inner being. The inner being is an interconscious where there is an inner mind, inner vital, and even an inner physical. But you can also use the word subtle physical. All this is the inner being. And behind the inner being, at the rock, absolutely at the, is the psychic being. Okay? The psychic is at the last end of the inner being, much deeper than our inner mind, inner vital, inner body. Then, that is our inner being, and it is this which we must regard as our subliminal self. So, now we say very clearly that by subliminal, we must first think of the intraconscient, the inner being, and set apart the subconscient as an inferior. He is saying very clearly the subconscient is inferior, but the intraconscient is far superior. Okay? Let alone the superconscient. That's even more superior to even the intraconscient. The lowest occult province of our nature. In the same way, there is a superconscient part of our total existence in which there is what we discover to be our highest self. And this too we can set apart as a higher occult province of our nature. All this below, inside, and above is all your own nature, but you are not conscious of it. And it is this below, above, and up and inside that is determining what you are. It determines your thoughts, it determins your vital, it determines even your body actions. So, very clear. We find it difficult to accept this because whatever I'm doing with my own will. But that's an illusion. That's not the truth. That happens because you have an ego. The moment the ego disappears, you realize that you are not doing anything. You are the non-doer. Now, it's 8:20, 8:18. We can now read the next one. So, he is examining, remember he has started examining where this subliminal ends. Where does it end? So he has asked the questions. So now we will look into that. So we can read the next one. Archana ji read. Who will read the next one? Yes, 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 Shilpa. You can read.
But what then is the subconscious and where does it begin and how is it related to our surface being or to the subliminal of which it would seem more properly to be province? We are aware of our body and know that we have a physical existence even when very largely identify ourselves with it. And yet, most of its operations are really subconscious to our mental being. Not only does the mind take no part in them, but as we suppose, our most physical being has no awareness of its own hidden operations or by itself of its own existence. It knows or rather feels only so much of itself as is enlightened by mind sense and observable by intelligence. We are aware of a vitality working in this bodily form and structure as in the plant or lower animal, a vital existence which is also for the most part subconscious to us, for we only observe some of its movement and reactions. We are partly aware of its operations, but not by any means of all or most of them, and rather of those which are abnormal than those which are normal. Its wants impress themselves more forcibly upon us than its satisfactions, its diseases and disorders than its health and its regular rhythm. Its death is more poignant to us its life is vivid. We know as much of it as we can consciously observe and use, or as much as force itself upon us by pain and pleasure and other sensations, or a cause of nervous or physical reaction and disturbance, but no more. Accordingly, we suppose that this vital physical part of us also is not conscious of its own operations or has only a suppressed consciousness or no consciousness like the plant or an inchoate consciousness like the incipient animal. It becomes conscious only so far as it is enlightened by mind and observable by intelligence.
Okay, so we'll have a look at what he's saying here. He's examining what he has spoken about the subconscious and the interconscious, and he has told you not to confuse the two. Now he's looking at the subconscious. Okay, so we will do two things. I'll quickly read the summary. That will give us an overall picture, and then we'll go into each sentence. Sometimes the words are interesting, so we'll come to know what it means. In this para, he's saying, I'm reading the summary of what we have just now read. We must now ask ourselves first, what is the subconscious in us? How is it related to our surface nature? Is there a connection at all? That's what he's asking. How is it connected to the subliminal of which it seems to be a part? We are conscious of our body and we even identify ourselves with it. That's obvious. We do. We think that this is what I am. You don't say, my body is ill. You say, I am ill. Okay? So unconsciously, you are doing that all the time. Okay? But in India, we often ask, how is your body? We don't say, how are you? In the West, we say, how are you? But here we say, Shorir Kiromase, how are you? How is your body? Okay? Physically, how are you? So the idea is there in India that you should not identify yourself with your body. In the West, it's not there. How are you? You is the body. We are conscious of our body and we even identify ourselves with it. We are not at all aware how it functions. How does the heart work? How the kidneys? How the brain? What does the liver do? We know none of these things. These are hidden operations. We know of them only as far as our mind tells us. What about the vital? Just as prana exists in plant and animal, it works in our body also. But we do not fully know our vital desires, emotions, its subconscious movements. We don't know. Disease is more clear to us than health. Pain is more real to us than pleasure. We understand these as much as our mind informs us. So we dub all these physical vital movements together and call them unconscious. But this is not true. There is an exaggeration in this. This is a summary of what he said. Now we'll quickly go through the sentences one by one. So we have examined the interconscious and told you very clearly you can't call it subconscious. So what is subconscious? We look into. But what then is the subconscious? And where does it begin? And how is it related to our surface being? Surface being, body, mind, life. Okay? Or to the subliminal, of which it would seem more properly to be a province. Is the subconscious connected with the interconscious? That's what he's asking. Actually, it is connected because what is below and what goes above, inside and then goes up. So everything is connected. Below, inside and above is all connected. That he will tell us afterwards. He is asking a question. This is what he is going to discuss. We are aware of our body and know that we have a physical existence. Even very largely identify ourselves with it. And yet, most of its operations are really subconscious to our mental being. We don't know that the kidneys are doing a fantastic job. They are actually purifying our blood, removing all the impurities and taking it away. Okay? Even the lungs are doing that. It gives you fresh oxygen and takes out all the carbon dioxide and other gases which are not needed in the body. It throws them out. Okay? So this is what is happening. Not only does the mind take no part in them, but as we suppose, our most physical being has no awareness of its own hidden operations or by itself of its own existence. The body does not even know that it exists. It's the mind that knows that I have a body and that exists. Because the body consciousness is very, very low level of consciousness. then he's saying it knows or rather feels only so much of itself as is enlightened by mind sense and observable by intelligence. So, of the body, you can only observe with the mind. That's all. You can't know anything else. So, we are aware of a vitality. These are only how the mind can know the body. Now, what about the vitality? We are aware of a vitality working in this bodily form and structure, as in the plant and lower animal. Now, he's saying very interestingly, bodily form and structure. He's using the word structure because form can be very, very vague. It can be just a form. But structure, when he's saying, there is an organization. You know? A structure is something like a building, it's got many rooms and it is built with a purpose. So he's calling it a structure. Okay? Because there are so many organs and all of the organs are working in perfect harmony with each other. The kidneys, the heart, the stomach, they have all got a purpose and they're working in total harmony. So, we are aware of a vitality working in the bodily form and structure, as in the plant or lower animal. A vital, so he is going to the plant level and the lower animal, not cats and dogs, but even lesser, maybe insects, or even below that is the unicellular creatures. Okay? A vital existence which is also for the most part subconscious to us, for we only observe some of its movements and reactions, not the whole thing at all. Okay? We are partly aware of its operations, but not by any means of all or most of them, or rather of those which are abnormal than those which are normal. So normal functions in the body and the vital we don't know at all. When it's abnormal, you fall ill, then you know. Okay, that's what he said. Its wants impress themselves more forcibly upon us than its satisfactions. Because when it's satisfied, then you don't think about it anymore. But when it is not satisfied, it will dog you. It will continue to bother you. When it's not, your impressions are not, your desires are not satisfied, the desire will continue to harass you. Its diseases and disorders than its health and its regular living. Its death more poignant to us than its life is given. So, all the negative things we are more conscious of, but not the positive things. They're normal, so you don't think of them. But they are also there, we should know that also. Okay. Death is more poignant to us than life. It's obvious. When you are living, we don't think about it. But as soon as death comes in, my God, you become aware of it. Okay? Not only aware, but you suffer. We know as much of it as we can consciously observe and use, or as much as forces itself upon us by pain and pleasure and other sensations, or as a cause of nervous physical reaction and disturbance, but nothing more. When these things happen, ill health comes, then you realize. But you know nothing about the body working, you know nothing about the vital, you know nothing about the inner hidden desires that you have. We are not conscious of it. Accordingly, we suppose that this vital physical part of us also is not conscious of its own operations, or has only a suppressed consciousness, or no consciousness like the plant, or an inchoate consciousness like the incipient animal. He has used two words here, inchoate. Okay. So beginning. Inchoate means initial, and not nothing to do with chaos, inchoate. And also incipient. Incipient means the beginning, the origin. So incipient animal, insects maybe, okay? They are not yet the full animal. Cats and dogs are full animals, elephants and lions and tigers, but not the insects. There you can call them beginning animals, first animals, incipient. Then he said it becomes conscious only so far as it is enlightened by mind and observable by intelligence. In other words, we know nothing about our body and our vital. Now, is that this the subconscious? That's what he's asking. Okay, he will understand that, but that's what he is going to. He's examining what is the subconsciousness. Okay, it's 8:32. We can read the next one because we have got 8 minutes. We can read the next one. It's quite long. Yeah, it's quite long, but I think we can read it. 8 minutes we can read. So this is an exaggeration. So what is an exaggeration? We'll see, but we can read. So who will read? Who has the text? So Sunki, maybe you can read.
Yes, I will read.
Okay, go ahead. This is an exaggeration. Just read it today.
This is an exaggeration and a confusion due to our identification with consciousness, with mentality and mental awareness. Mind identifies itself to a certain extent with the movements proper to physical life and body and annexes them to its mentality, so that all consciousness seems to us to be mental. But if we draw back, if we separate the mind as a witness from this part of us, we can discover that life and body, even the most physical part of life, have a consciousness of their own, a consciousness proper to an obscure vital and to a bodily being. Even such an elemental awareness as primitive animal forms may have, but in us, partly taken up by the mind, and to that extent mentalized. Yet it has not, in its independent motion, the mental awareness which we enjoy. If there is a mind in it, it is a mind involved and implicit in the body and in the physical life. There is no organized self-consciousness, but only a sense of action and reaction, movement, impulse and desire, need, necessary activities imposed by nature, hunger, instinct, pain, insensibility, and pleasure. Although thus inferior, it has this awareness obscure, limited, and automatic. But since it is less in possession of itself, void of what to us is the stamp of mentality, we may justly call it the submental, but not so justly the subconscious part of our being. For when we stand back from it, when we can separate our mind from its sensations, we perceive that this is a nervous and sensational and automatically dynamic mode of consciousness, a gradation of awareness different from the mind. If it has its own separate reactions to contacts and is sensitive to them in its own power of feeling, it does not depend for that on the mind's perception and response. The true subconscious is other than this vital or physical substratum. It is the inconscient vibrating on the borders of consciousness, sending up its emotions to be changed into conscious stuff, swallowing into its depth impressions of past experience as seeds of unconscious habit, and returning them constantly but often chaotically to the surface consciousness, missioning upwards much futile or perilous stuff of which the origin is obscure to us, in dream, in mechanical repetitions of all kinds, in untraceable impulsions and motives, in mental, vital, physical perturbations and upheavals, in dumb automatic necessities of our obscurest parts of nature.
So we still have 4 minutes. So I'll read the summary and next time we'll do it in detail. So what he's saying here in this paragraph, He's saying that we think that the subconscious is not conscious, but that's an exaggeration. But this is an exaggeration as well as a confusion, because we equate confused consciousness with mental awareness. Consciousness is not mental awareness. Consciousness is something fundamentally different. It can be mental consciousness, it can be vital consciousness, it can be even body consciousness. The consciousness reduces itself and makes itself lesser than what it is in the higher ranges. So that's what he's saying. So, but this is an exaggeration as well as a confusion, because we equate confused consciousness with mental awareness. It is not so. Consciousness is an impersonal, infinite, universal existence which takes many forms, many formulations, of which mental awareness is only one particular form. Mind is one stage of consciousness. There are others above and below itself. To know this, we can also think of the image of the water, which can be ice, which can be water, and can be water vapor. Essentially the same thing. So consciousness can also be exactly others. It can be very subtle, it can be gross, it can be the grossest. Okay? So that is consciousness. There are others and above and below it. When we stand back, when can you stand back? When you enter the Brahmic consciousness, when you enter the self. Okay? Then you are standing back and looking. We can look at our thoughts and we can look at our writings, but it is never a perfect observation, because there is always a partiality. What we like and dislike is always entering into our judgment. When we stand back, disengage ourselves from mind and its movements, we see that the vital and the body have their own consciousness expressed in different grades and different reactions to external stimuli. Plants react. Mimosa retracts its leaves and you touch it. Roots seek water. They are hydrophilic. Leaves seek light and air. They are photophilic, maybe. Okay? Body is conscious at a lower level. Okay? When you cough, it's a body consciousness. When you sneeze, when you wink, all these are body consciousness. Even hunger and thirst. The body is telling you, you need food. Put food into your stomach. Thirst. The body needs water, so take. Okay? The good example of body consciousness is coagulation. It repairs itself. The blood coagulates. When you get a cut, the body repairs itself. How can it repair itself if it's not conscious? It is conscious, but at a lower level. Okay? But consciousness of body and vital are at a lower level, which we may call submental, with some justification, but not subconscious, not justified. But you can say submental, it is okay. You can use the term submental, but not subconscious, because these are totally unconnected to mental awareness. The true subconscious is nearly the inconscient, which borders consciousness. It records everything in the individual and in the universal also, and retains these concepts and sanskaras in seed form and throws up these into awareness in the dreams, habits, psychological complexes, untraceable motives and impulses. This is what he said in the paragraph. So there is a consciousness in the vital and the body. Don't think that there is no consciousness there. So you can't call it subconscious, you can call it submental. That's what it means. Okay? So it's exactly 8:40 and we have reached the end of our para as well as the end of our time. So, au revoir and everybody, have a nice day. We'll meet again
Thank you.
tomorrow. Yeah.
Thank you, Rangada. Au revoir to you
Thank you,
all.
Rangada.
Thank you, Rangada.
Yeah. Tomorrow we'll meet for synthesis.